Takumi was a 40-year-old loser with a job and no enthusiasm for life who is accidentally summoned to another world with full metal alchemist abilities to save the world from an evil god. He was not even the target of the hero summoning spell and just got caught in it because of an accident that destroyed his body, leaving just his soul behind. As Takumi finds himself floating over the clouds, a winged woman named Nolan introduces herself as the goddess of this world and apologizes to him for the mess he is in. She tells him that an enemy empire tried using the banned summoning spell to teleport a hero, but it went horribly wrong, destroying his body. To make up for it, the goddess offers to send him down to a brand new world with SS rank abilities so that he can live a life which he is happy with. She asks what kind of abilities he wants, and Takumi replies that he is a wimp who doesn't like fighting. Nolan decides to give him some production-based jobs like alchemy and blacksmithing by making him deep throat a magical crystal. Takumi feels like his head is splitting from all the new information about the skills, and then Nolan sends him to the planet with a bang. As he gets up and looks at his face in the lake, Takumi realizes that he has the body of a 17-year-old, and he finds himself so handsome that he wants to quickly rub one off. After that, he checks the supplies that Nolan has left him, including gold and food. Next, he decides to check out the skills he has received, and finds that he can use all sorts of basic magic spells. Takumi then begins exploring the area and finds a branch of a tree monster lying on the ground. His system tells him that this branch can be used to create high-quality weapons, so he immediately uses his blacksmithing skill on it to create a spear. Next, he uses his analysis skill to find that almost every plant around him is a medicinal herb, so he gathers a lot of them and then puts them in his item box. Just then, he hears the voice of a girl screaming, and soon, a loli comes running towards him. She hides behind him, asking him to save her from a monster, and just then, a horned rabbit comes out of the bushes. It pounces at the girl, but Takumi uses his spear to kill it in one blow. Because of that, he levels up and gets the job of a warrior, but he really doesn't want it. The girl named Molly is really impressed, and she thanks Takumi for saving her life. Takumi asks the girl if she can lead him to her village, and she gladly agrees. She asks him to take the horned rabbit with him because it tastes delicious, and Takumi immediately stores it in his item box, only realizing later that he should have not displayed his skills so casually. On the other hand, 3 high school students find themselves in the Holy Sidonia Empire, and the Empress Elizabeth herself comes there to welcome them. She tells the confused heroes that she summoned them here to save the world, but the summoned girl doesn't trust her at all. Just then, she gets a special skill from Nolan, which allows her to reach the correct decision just by following her instincts. The girl's instincts tell her that Elizabeth is a dangerous woman, and she must stay away from her. Meanwhile, Takumi reaches the village with Molly, where her parents thank him for saving her. Takumi asks them if he can stay in the village for a while, and they gladly accept him. They introduce him to the local blacksmith, who tells him that not only are the forests around the village rich with medicinal herbs, there is also a natural mine near it, so it is great for all sorts of craftsmen. Takumi is really excited to hear this, and then Molly's parents tell him that they don't have any inn in the village for him to stay in. Takumi says that he can just camp outside, but the blacksmith says they can create a house for him quickly. The villagers gather around and take Takumi to a vacant lot, which he flattens with his earth magic. That uses up most of his mana and gives him a migraine, but the villagers are amazed because magic users are quite rare. They help him in building a house quickly, and Takumi uses his carpentry and blacksmithing skills to put together some furniture for himself. He then fiddles around with his status window and changes his job from a warrior to an alchemist. With that out of the way, he moves on to the ores he mined with the help of the blacksmith. He has copper, iron, and silver ores, along with magic iron ore that can store mana inside it. Takumi is already thrilled at the idea of performing alchemy and converting every sort of material into gold, and he excitedly starts working on the iron ore. He doesn't need a furnace or fancy tools because he can use magic to remove the impurities from the ore and then shape it into a brick. He consumes a lot of mana for doing that, but his excitement forces him to keep working on. Soon, Molly comes to his home to call him over for dinner, but she is horrified when she finds Takumi passed out on the ground, exhausted after using all his mana. She calls her parents over, who lecture Takumi and then give him a mana-restoring potion. The next day, Molly and her mom keep a watchful eye on Takumi to make sure he is not overexerting himself again, and that slows down his progress quite a lot. He manages to refine more metals in the following days and even creates some utensils for himself, which levels up his alchemy job. In his free time, he helps the village blacksmith to create high-quality weapons with his magic, and that levels up his blacksmith job class. After that, he goes to Molly's dad and asks to borrow some potions so that he can try and copy their recipe. Molly's dad lets him borrow some basic potions and tells Takumi that he can sell the potions he makes to him later. Takumi then goes home and starts cooking while praising Jesse Pinkman and Walter White. He makes some magic blue drugs like his idols, but finds that the color is different from the original recipe. The next day, this junkie goes to the forest and begins eating any poisonous plant he finds, and then purifies the poison so that he can gain resistance to poison and improve his purification magic level. As he is recovering from eating a specially dangerous plant, a giant armored boar attacks him. Takumi panics on seeing the monster. He tries fighting back with his spear, but it shatters on contact with the boar. Takumi barely dodges its first attack and then shoots magic attacks at him, but neither of them do any damage. As he backs away, Takumi suddenly stumbles across a poisonous spider that is badly injured. He thinks that he will have to fight two monsters at the same time now, but then the spider jumps on the boar's face, distracting it. The boar hits some trees to get the spider off his face and then resumes his attack on Takumi. Takumi is at his wit's end now, but then suddenly, he gets an idea that is really risky, but it is the only way he can win. The boar charges at him, and instead of dodging, Takumi just leaps towards it. He uses his alchemy skill to decompose the boar's brain, killing it instantly. After that, he stumbles towards the injured spider, and to thank it for helping him earlier, he heals its injuries. With that, Takumi starts heading back, but then his system tells him that he has tamed the poisoned spider. Takumi freaks out, but the spider looks at him with puppy eyes, and he is forced to accept it as a pet. He decides to name it Maple because of the design on its back, and that causes the spider to evolve and it becomes able to talk. Takumi takes the spider back to the village with him, and everyone freaks out on seeing this. They are even more shocked to learn that Takumi has tamed it because insects are not generally willing to be tamed. Takumi tells them that it is not important, and they should focus on the giant boar he has hunted. The villagers throw a party that night to eat boar meat, and Molly's dad gives Takumi the valuable materials from the boar. He tells him to go to the city and sell them for a great price, because a talented person like him should not limit himself to a simple village. On the other hand, Nolan is watching over Takumi's progress, and she is really happy for him. Just then, another goddess arrives there and asks Nolan if Takumi is someone special, because not only did she give him a new body and special powers, she also sent him to the world 1 year before the summoning by the Sidonia Empire. A couple of days later, as Takumi wakes up, he suddenly finds himself cocooned by Maple's silk threads. He gets furious at her and begins lashing out, asking why the hell did she do this. Maple nervously tells him that he was busy all the time and she wanted Daddy's attention, so she had to do this. Takumi realizes that he was really paying no attention to Maple as he was busy cooking potions. He tells her that he will take a day off to play with her today, and Maple starts jumping over him in joy. Just then, Molly's mom comes there with breakfast, and as she sees the spider on top of Takumi, she suspects that he has weird and illegal fetishes. Takumi tries to assure her that he doesn't like getting pegged by his pet spider, but then Molly's mom notices the sparkling silk threads hanging from the roof, and her greedy side awakens, scaring both Takumi and Maple. The woman makes a shirt using the shiny silk threads, which are a luxury item that only nobles can afford. All the women in the village gather to fawn over the shiny shirt, and Maple becomes an instant celebrity among them. She starts enjoying the attention of the village women and tells Takumi that she can't play with him today because she is busy. Takumi decides to do some work in that case, and he heads to the blacksmith who has prepared some light leather armor for him. Just then, Molly's dad also comes there and asks Takumi when is he planning to move out. Takumi is taken aback by this because he was wondering how to break the news to the villagers who have been so kind to him. However, everyone already thinks that he should go to a city where his talents can shine properly. The two men tell him that a merchant from the neighboring city is coming to their village next week, and they have arranged for a seat on his carriage already. Takumi is deeply touched by their gesture, and he sincerely thanks them. After that, he heads back home and finds Molly's mom, who is going to throw away the guts of the horned rabbits her husband has hunted in the morning. She says that they are the most delicious meat of the horned rabbit, but they need proper cleaning and processing that isn't possible in this village. Takumi tells her that he can use the holy element magic and immediately purifies the meat. This surprises Molly's mom, who advises him not to show the purification magic to anyone because only a select few people can use it, and he may get some unwanted attention because of it. After this, Takumi spends the entire week trying to develop the village. He creates a stone wall to protect it from dangers and even sets up some hand pumps for easy supply of water. When the merchant Papik comes to the village the next week, he is dumbfounded to see the wall. Molly's dad and the blacksmith come outside to do business with him, and soon Takumi also arrives there. He introduces himself to the merchant, and then tells Molly's dad that he left 100 bottles of basic healing potion at his house in case the village ever needs them. Papik is shocked to see the healing potion because it looks really high quality, and he asks if he can take a closer look at it. While he is busy examining the potion, Takumi says his goodbye to Molly and the villagers, who have made a special jacket for him using maple silk. After thanking them for everything, Takumi gets on the carriage. The villagers wave him goodbye and he gets emotional, thinking that this village is his hometown in this world. This emotional goodbye makes even Papik's bodyguard shed a tear. The blonde man then introduces himself as Heath, the redhead as Real, and the silent Baldy as Bogger. Papik says that they are a C-rank adventure party and he hired them as his bodyguards. As they start to make small talk, the redhead Real asks about the bag Takumi is holding, and he reveals that he has his pet spider in it. This shocks everyone, and Real tries getting a closer view at the tamed spider. Maple thinks that he is a pervert, so she immediately headbutts him and then goes into the bald guy's lap, who holds her without any issue. While the three adventurers fight for Maple's attention, Papik tells Takumi that he wants to buy the healing potions he gave to the villagers earlier. Before they can get to the details of business, Papik is forced to stop his carriage as there are monsters in front of him. Takumi takes a look outside and finds some goblins approaching them. The adventurers immediately go outside, ready for action, but Papik is pissing his pants already. The adventurers low diff the goblins quickly, and their journey remains peaceful after that. 3 days later, they reach the city of Bolton, where Takumi decides to go to the Adventurer Guild first. He wants to register himself at the Alchemist Guild, but the receptionist tells him that there isn't one. Takumi is dejected, but he decides to sign up as an adventurer and registers Maple as his pet. Once that is done, he pays Papik's company a visit to make a deal about the potions he has. Papik offers him a good price for the potions, and it takes Takumi a full minute to do the math inside his mind to realize that he would become a millionaire in Japan with just this one transaction. Papik tells him that he will earn more for the same items once he gets famous, and Takumi thinks that it is too good to be true. He wonders if Papik has ulterior motives because ideally, he should be ripping him off since he is a newbie. Suddenly, Papik suggests him to get a house with a workshop so that he can do business easily. Takumi panics on hearing that because he doesn't think he has enough savings for that, but Papik says that he can just rent a house. He calls his butler and tells him to show one of their better properties to Takumi. The butler leads him to a mansion with an attached workshop, and the rent is also quite low. Takumi thinks that it is too good to be true, but he accepts the deal anyway. The next day, he moves into the mansion, and the first thing he does is create a toilet seat using magic because he isn't comfortable with anything else. That eats a lot of his mana, and as he is drinking mana potions to replenish it, he hears a scream from the hall. Takumi runs outside to see what is happening, and to his shock, Maple has put Papik in a cocoon. Takumi freaks out and asks the spider why would she do such a thing, and she replies that people enjoy this. Takumi says that only the village children enjoyed this, but turns out Papik feels really comfy in the cocoon. Anyway, Takumi frees him and then apologizes on Maple's behalf. Papik doesn't mind that, and asks to go to the toilet before doing business. Takumi points him towards the toilet, and as Papik sees the glossy ceramic toilet seat, he is astonished. Takumi tells him about its features that enable it to purify the waste instantly, and Papik asks if he can use purification magic. Takumi realizes he had to keep it a secret, and he asks the merchant to keep it a secret. Papik agrees to that, but then he asks Takumi to make 100 more of same toilet seats because that would be really good for business. Takumi agrees, and then Papik tells him to get some helping hands, and suggests that he takes in a slave instead of workers. Takumi is shocked by this, but Papik tells him that if he gets a slave, he can keep his holy magic a secret from the world. He says that anyone who can use holy element magic is scooped up by the church, which exploits them and profits using their healing magic, so they must keep his powers a secret. Takumi says that he understands this, but he is against hiring a slave because he needs to keep a moral high ground. However, Papik convinces him that it is not a bad thing to do and takes him to a reliable slave trader. As he goes inside to get someone, Takumi decides to take a walk in the beautiful garden there. Suddenly, his eyes meet a pretty elf girl, but she coldly tells him to go home, confusing him. The elf repeats her sentence, telling him that this is not a place for a child like him, so he should return where he came from. Anyway, Takumi soon visits the goth MILF that runs the slave company. After the introductions are over, Papik tells the goth mommy that Takumi is not comfortable with using slave contracts because it is something against his morals. The mommy tells him that he doesn't need to worry about that, because in their country, the rights of slaves are protected. She gives him a general gist about the slavery laws, which state that the owner has to respect the basic human rights of the slave and provide them with food, clothing, and shelter. They can't harm the slaves seriously either, and forcing them to do things that were not mentioned at the time of the contract is also forbidden. Takumi finally realizes that this is much better than what he imagined at first, and then the goth mommy begins telling him about the types of slaves. First, there are the people who became slaves because of a debt they couldn't pay, and they must be released when they have worked enough to pay the debt. Criminals can become slaves to get a chance to reform their lives, and even prisoners of war are taken as slaves to get a place to stay. Lastly, there are also the unfortunate people who were kidnapped by robbers and made slaves illegally. Papik speaks up on Takumi's behalf, saying that he would like a war slave who can't be freed without their master's will because Takumi has some skills and talent that needs to be kept secret. The mommy asks Takumi what are his requirements, and he replies that he wants someone to look after his house and also act as his bodyguard during raw material gathering and guild quests. The mommy says that he will need 2 slaves to meet all his demands, and calls a girl named Maria who was kidnapped by bandits when she was little. She is well educated and trained in housekeeping, and Takumi is smitten because she looks low-key cute. He tells Maria about the size of his house, and she tells she can manage it all herself. He then asks why is someone as cute as her still available because there should be a line of guys wanting to pick her. Maria turns red on hearing this compliment, and she tells Takumi that she will only do his household chores and she won't let him sneak into her room at night for some raw action. Takumi gets flustered and he tries his hardest to convince her that he is a Sigma male who won't do anything inappropriate with her. The goth mommy tells them that they are ready to form a contract now, and just like that, Maria becomes Takumi's slave. The mommy then tells Takumi that they don't have a war slave to act as his bodyguard right now, but Maria reminds her that they have one girl called Sophia. The MILF tells her that it is not her place to suggest things to her, and tells her to go and pack her things urgently. Hearing this exchange makes Takumi curious about Sophia, and he presses the mommy to at least let him meet the girl. She takes him along, and turns out that Sophia is the same elf girl that Takumi saw earlier. The mommy tells him that she was captured 50 years ago in a war with the elves, and ever since then, she has not taken a master. She says that Sophia has the damage from the war all over her body, and her magic has also been sealed because of some sort of curse. This makes her unfit to be a combatant or a bodyguard. Takumi asks the MILF to let him speak with Sophia in private, and she leaves them alone in the room. Sophia tells Takumi to go home once again, but he holds her face and forcibly looks into her status window to find that she is crazy strong, but the damage to her limbs and the curse make her useless right now. He thinks that if he can heal her, she will be a great asset to him, and he immediately calls the mommy, telling him that he will form a contract with the elf. Sophia reminds him that she is more useless than Sakura right now, but Takumi says that he is the president of the I Can Fix Her Club. Soon, the paperwork is complete, and then the MILF casts the contract magic to bind the 2 girls to Takumi. After that, he heads home, but just as he opens the door, Maple pounces on him, making him fall to the ground. Sophia panics, thinking that she needs to take the monster off of her master's head, but Takumi tells her to stop because Maple is actually his pet. The girls are confused, but they accept that Takumi is a weirdo they can't understand. He then leads them inside and gives them their own rooms because he has too many free rooms anyway. He tells them that they can freely use the bath in the house as they please, and the girls hit it immediately after settling down. Once inside the bath, Maria says that she never thought that the mommy would let Sophia go because she has always been really protective of her, but Takumi must be special. However, Sophia is lost in thoughts about the contracts she saw earlier. Most of the information about Takumi was left blank, and she wonders just who the hell is he. After that, they go to the dining room, where Takumi has prepared dinner for everyone. Maria complains and throws a tantrum because cooking is supposed to be her job, and Takumi somehow consoles her. Sophia also has concerns about him allowing slaves to eat together with him, but Takumi tells her that he is chill like that. The next day, he receives a parcel from Paypek, and then goes shopping in the market. On the way, he notices a church, so he casually walks inside. He finds a statue of Nolan there and starts praying to her. He has heard that the Empire of Sidonia controls religion in this country as well, and he wonders why does Nolan hate them so much when they worship her too. Suddenly, he hears Nolan's voice, telling him that she hates them because she is not a part of their circle. Takumi opens his eyes to see himself floating over the clouds, and he panics, wondering if he is dead again. Nolan tells him that she has just called him up for a chat, and then she tells him about her relation with Sidonia and its policies. She says that originally, there was the Church of Creation that worshipped her, but then the Sidonia Empire formed the Church of Divine Light that worshipped a god that didn't even exist. Sidonia used their power to get more followers and began pushing back the Church of Creation, but Nolan didn't want to interfere in the petty matters of humans. After this, she tells Takumi that while her other blessings she granted him will last forever, she also gave him a little bit of plot armor that is about to be used up soon. She tells him that he might find it harder to solve problems now and the people he meets may want to harm him. Takumi finally realizes that all the helpful people he met till now were brought to him by Nolan's blessing, but now it is all up to him. With that, the prayer ends, and he finds himself back in the church. He returns home soon, and instantly, Maple tackles him and makes him fall down. As the girls come to help him pick his stuff up, Takumi sees Sophia reaching his special parcel, and he immediately uses the item box to keep it away from her. He then hurries to the workshop to do some experiments, but now Sophia is curious because the package was wrapped in magic paper. She wonders what was inside the parcel that needs to be protected so seriously, and she follows Takumi to the workshop. To her horror, Takumi dips a knife in a pot of poison and then slashes his hand with it before using holy magic to purify the poison so that he can level up his holy magic to treat Sophia. He groans in pain the entire time, and then suddenly mentions Maria's name, which provokes Sophia into confronting him. She barges into the room and tells him that she won't forgive him if he does anything to Maria, and then suddenly, she collapses in Takumi's arms. He finds that she is extremely exhausted and also has a slight injury on her hand. He tries to heal her, but it is really hard and tiring because the curse resists healing magic, but he succeeds in doing it and his holy magic levels up. After that, he takes her to her room and Maria informs him that whenever Sophia gets too excited or anxious, she collapses from exhaustion. Takumi tells her that it is the last time and then casts a curse-dispelling spell as well as a high-level healing spell on Sophia that heals her injuries and regrows her cut ear. When Sophia wakes up later, Maria shares the good news with her. Sophia is stunned to see her ear healed, and then she finds that even her magic is back. Maria suddenly hugs her, saying that she is perfectly healthy now. Sophia then goes to thank Takumi, who decides to clear up any misunderstanding between them. He tells her that he was poisoning himself and then using healing magic to level it up so that he could help her. He also clarifies just mentioning Maria's name because she accidentally threw out some of his poisonous herbs in garbage. Sophia asks why he would do such a dangerous thing, and Takumi reminds her that he is the president of the I Can Fix Her Club. Sophia is moved to tears because of this, and she kneels before Takumi, swearing her lifelong loyalty to him. The next day, Takumi goes to the library to find some books on alchemy, and he is really unimpressed when he learns that there are only 4 books on the topic in the entire library. He wonders why more people are not showing interest in alchemy when it is so simple, when suddenly, he realizes that the books are written in an ancient language and only he can understand it thanks to the blessings he got from the goddess. After that, he returns home and starts working on making toilet seats for the merchant Paypek. Soon, he finishes making 100 of them and then decides to take a long break from mass producing anything for a while. Maria asks him what he plans to do next, and he says that he wants to go on a little adventure to explore the world. He says that Sophia will be his bodyguard, and Maria should stay at home and look after it in the meantime. However, Maria wants to come with him on the adventure as well. Takumi gets nervous on hearing her request because he is not sure about taking a non-fighter into unknown areas, and he also needs someone to watch over the house. Maria starts crying, saying that being left alone to look after the house without Takumi, Sophia, or even Maple is like being a toilet in the middle of a scorching desert. Takumi wonders why this stupid redhead has to think of such weird examples, but he still doesn't really think that he should take her along. Maria comes close to him and gives him the emotional appeal with her puppy eyes. Takumi starts to feel his defenses crack down, but before coming up with a decision, he decides to check Maria's stats. He holds her face and looks into her status window to find that she is a full-fledged battle maid and her stats are even better than him. Takumi is surprised by that, and Maria again requests him to take her along. Sophia finally stands up and asks Takumi to let Maria come with them, because she can teach her some fighting skills on the way. After hearing that, Takumi finally accepts Maria's request. He then leads the girls into his workshop so that he can create weapons and armor for them. He asks them what kind of weapons they want, and Sophia immediately starts listing different types of weapons for different situations. Maria says she is good with short swords and knives, but Sophia decides to teach her how to use a spear because knives don't have that much attacking power. So while the girls train with spears, Takumi gets busy using his blacksmith skills and creates different weapons for them. He even carves designs on the weapons just for funsies, and then casts enchantment spells on them so that they become more durable. He then looks at the knives he made for Maria and then begins imagining them strapped to her juicy thighs. That gives this pervert a serious nosebleed, but he is not done yet. He realizes he needs the measurements of the girls to make armor for them, but if he tries measuring them, he will probably die because of nosebleed. That is why he uses one of his skills to create wooden puppets that look just like Maria and Sophia. Thankfully, Maple arrives on the scene before he can start dry humping those puppets. Takumi asks for some spider silk from Maple, and then begins designing the armors with the passion of an incel. A few days later, he is finished with the armor that looks like regular clothing, and the girls are impressed by how well it fits them. Sophia asks Takumi how did he know about their measurements so exactly, and he shuts up Maple before she can reveal his dirty secret. He asks them to check their weapons first, and then gives them magic rings made from mithril that will help them cast spells quicker. After that, the three of them head to the Adventurers Guild so that Maria and Sophia can register as adventurers. Once that is done, Takumi registers the three of them as a party. The receptionist then tells him that it is almost a month and he has to do a mandatory quest to keep his adventurer license, and Takumi tells him that he is here for the same thing. He goes to the quest board to pick an easy quest, when suddenly, a bunch of fat, ugly losers come there. They start telling the girls to join their party because they can guide them better than the twink. Takumi can't let that slide, and he goes ahead to confront the human hippopotamus. Even though he is terrified internally, he can't let anyone talk to his girls like that. He tells the hippopotamus that judging by his size, his mother should be so heavy that even Superman can't lift her. This enrages the fatty who punches Takumi, but he had already used a spell to turn his body into metal. Hippo ends up breaking his hand because of that, and just as his lackeys are about to attack Takumi, the guild master arrives there and yells at them to stop. He looks at Hippo's broken arm and asks Takumi if he did that. Maria tries standing up for him, but the guildmaster doesn't believe her. Luckily, the receptionist comes there and explains what happened to the bald man. The guildmaster Barak tells the gang of losers to get lost and then calls Takumi's party in his office. He demands Takumi to reveal what he did to Hippo, and he hesitates initially, but when the receptionist says that he saw faint traces of mana, Takumi realizes he can't keep it a secret. He explains that he just took out a piece of charcoal, turned it into diamond, and then coated his body with it before getting hit. Barak now understands that Takumi is an alchemist, and then the receptionist says that since he has such pretty girls in his team, a lot of incels will try to mess with him. He suggests promoting Takumi to D rank immediately so that he can be safe, and asks him to undertake a higher level quest to earn that promotion. The guildmaster gives his permission, and both Sophia and Maria are in favor of it, so Takumi decides to take the quests. The first quest is to eliminate some goblins, and thanks to Maple's help, Takumi's party finds them quickly. Sophia rushes ahead and kills two of them, while the other two dash towards Takumi and Maria. Maple ties them down with her silk threads, and then Takumi and Maria finish them off easily. After that, they hunt down some more goblins and kobolds to complete the mission, and Takumi is concerned because they are seeing a lot of goblins. Sophia says that there must be a goblin general nearby with a huge horde of goblins serving him. Usually, it takes at least 5 D-rank parties to defeat one of them. But Sophia is confident that the three of them are strong enough to do it on their own. Takumi doesn't even want to take such a risk, but the girls crave violence. Suddenly, Maple tells him that she feels like she is going to evolve soon, so he immediately creates a pocket dimension using space-time magic to let her rest there. With that, the three of them head to the goblin stronghold, and Sophia predicts that there are around 300 goblins there. Takumi gets cold feet on hearing this, and he asks Sophia if they really have to do this, but she doesn't even pay attention to him. She says that she has confirmed that there are no people held hostage there using wind magic, so they can blast the goblins with magic. They charge up their magic spells and then hit the clueless goblins, wiping out a huge number of them at once. Soon, the goblin general comes out to fight and charges straight towards Takumi. He blocks its attacks with his spear and then uses a fire spell to roast it medium rare instantly. After that, Takumi and the girls return to the guild, completely exhausted after fighting the goblins, and seeing the amount of magic stones and other resources they have collected gives the receptionist a mini heart attack. He tells Takumi to come to the guild master's office, but he is completely exhausted by now. He still goes to Barak's office, who throws a tantrum because it takes multiple D-ranked teams to kill a goblin general and Takumi's group did it alone. Suddenly, the pocket dimension reopens in front of his bald head and a hand pushes him back. Maple comes out of the pocket dimension after evolving into a half-spider, half-human hybrid, and cheerfully introduces herself to her friends. The guildmaster doesn't even know what to say to them now, and he tells Takumi to just go home. A couple days later, Maria comes to Takumi's workshop and embarrassedly asks for some scraps of clothes because she needs to make underwear for herself and Sophia. Takumi says that she won't be able to make that with scraps, and Maria shows him a sketch about her designs. Takumi finds them really basic, so he sketches some modern lingerie, complete with a bow, and Maria gets really excited on seeing them and asks him to make a set for her. Just then, Maple pops out of the pocket dimension and tells Takumi that Papek is here. When Takumi goes to see him, he finds the merchant passed out after he saw Maple's evolved form. Later, Papek tells Takumi that Marquis Godwin, who rules over the city, wants to meet him regarding the toilets with the purification feature, and he has no choice but to go to his castle immediately. Though Takumi is initially concerned about meeting a noble, he finds that Godwin is a sincere man and a good administrator who is ready to bow his head to anyone who can help him make his city a better place. He thanks Takumi for the self-purifying toilets and defeating the goblin general, but then warns him to be more careful in the future, because if the Holy Sidonia Empire hears about him, they will surely come after him. Takumi is mentally exhausted by the time he reaches home, but when Maple gives him some soft fabric and he remembers that he gets to make underwear for Maria and Sophia, he gets his energy back. He works 3 days and nights without rest to make a set for both of them, and is completely exhausted at the end. He then asks the girls to try them on, but then wusses out as he thinks that they will consider him a creep for saying this. He runs to his room and shuts the door, even though the girls would have been happy to give him a show. A few days later, Takumi creates 3 refrigerators from scratch because he was craving ice cream. The girls find that a cool wind comes from within the refrigerators, so they open the door and sit in front of it, and Takumi doesn't understand how to tell these dumb thoughts about ozone layer depletion. He begins thinking about how he combined iron and other elements to create stainless steel, and then used a magic device that can cool its surroundings to make this piece of technology. He tells Maria that this box can keep food cold and fresh for a long period of time, and she thanks him because now she can always have fresh ingredients to cook food. Takumi decides to keep the blue one because Sophia likes it, and to take the remaining 2 to Papek's office to show him. He tells the girls that he will start working on another project after that, which will be upgrading their weapons. Sophia thinks that they don't really need an upgrade right now, but Takumi says that sooner or later they will set out on an adventure, and they should keep improving their equipment till then. He then goes to the guild to learn about the highest quality materials like mithril and adamantite, but the receptionist tells him that they are too rare here because no blacksmith can handle them properly. He suggests Takumi to try out the blacksmiths in the country of dwarves because they are much more skilled. Suddenly, he remembers that Takumi is an alchemist and tells him that he can synthesize his own mithril, but it is really exhausting and inefficient. The fastest method to get it would be to mine it from a mine to the northwest, but only the people affiliated with the blacksmith guild can enter it. The receptionist comes up with a loophole too, and tells Takumi that if he accepts a quest to defeat monsters within the mine, he can farm some mithril and adamantite while he is hunting monsters. Takumi likes the idea, and then suddenly, the guild master appears behind him, saying he has good news for him. He tells him that the city is low on treant wood that can be obtained by defeating tree monsters called treants, and they are found on the way to the mine. Takumi is nervous because the baldy is too close to him, but he takes the request to hunt treants on his way to the mine. The guild master tells him that there is also a blacksmith who has requested a bodyguard from the guild for his trip to the mine, and he wants Takumi to take that job too. Takumi realizes that he is getting too much work all of a sudden, but the guild master promises to promote him and his girls once they complete the missions successfully. He accepts the quests, and then asks how long does it take to reach the mine. The receptionist says that it takes 1 week using normal horses and around 4 days using monster horses. But unfortunately, they don't have any monster horses right now. Just then, the redhead adventurer Real, whom Takumi met while leaving the village, comes there and says his party is using the monster horses right now. Takumi and Real catch up with each other, and then Real tells the guildmaster that they hunted a buffalo on the way, so he came back to deliver it before it spoiled. He is going to return to his friends tomorrow, and Takumi asks him to stay the night at his place. Real gladly agrees, and then he accompanies Takumi on his trip to see Papek, who goes absolutely crazy on seeing a refrigerator. He learns that Takumi is going to the mine to get some mithril and decides to lend him a carriage drawn by monster horses. But in return he wants to buy some of the ores from him. Takumi gladly takes the deal, and then Papek requests him to make more refrigerators. After that, Takumi checks out various blacksmiths to see if anyone can give him some mithril. But he doesn't find anyone who can help, and it turns dark by the time he returns home. Suddenly, Real spots a hostile person coming towards them, and he decides to run away with Takumi instead of fighting. However, the hooded attacker kicks him down and then reveals herself to be Sophia, who thought Real was kidnapping her femboy master. She is about to strike him down, but Takumi stops her, and then they apologize to Real for the misunderstanding. He tells them that it is fine, but he has a lot of questions now. They reach the house soon, and Real is flabbergasted when he sees Maples evolve from the and jealous that Takumi lives with 3 cuties while he is still single. Later, Takumi tells his girls about the quests he took from the guild, and they agree that they should take the mission. The next day, after Real leaves the house, Takumi starts working on their new weapons. He tries to work on a huge tungsten sword that can absorb the enemy's mana, but it is incredibly hard to use the alchemy skill on it. He somehow manages to turn it into a block of tungsten, and then forges 2 swords from it, but it drains all his mana. 3 days later, Takumi and his party set out on their journey along with the blacksmith Dagambo. Once they reach the forest where the treants are found, they park the carriage at a safe distance and cast a barrier spell around it while they go to hunt the tree monsters. Takumi has no idea what treants even look like, but Sophia has some experience dealing with them. She can tell which trees are actually disguised treants, and on her cue, Takumi decides to attack the first one they find. The tree monster tries to fight back, but they easily block its attacks and take it down. Suddenly, a huge horde of treants surround them, and Sophia tells Takumi that they should use magic to deal with them quickly. They use wind magic to beat the tree monsters, while Maria buries them alive with earth magic. Takumi keeps using his weapons to fight in between as well, leveling up his fighting-related skills. Just as they think they have defeated all the treants, their boss comes there. Sophia uses her magic to cut its branches, and Maria and Maple also support her. But the boss treant regenerates its branches quickly and keeps attacking them. Sophia tells Takumi to enchant his sword with fire magic and attack the treant's main body to defeat it, and he immediately does that. He covers his sword with fire and then stabs the monster with it, killing it. The monster drops 2 fruits on death, and Sophia says that they are a rare item called miracle apples. The next day, they reach the mining city of Horas, and the blacksmith gives them their quest, which is to defeat iron moles who eat the ores from the mine. Soon, they head into the mine, and thanks to Takumi's maxed out luck, he quickly finds both mithril and adamantite ore. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking, and Maple senses that some monsters are approaching them quickly. Everyone gets ready to fight, but then Takumi comes up with an idea to end things quickly. Just as the iron mole pops out of the ground, he creates a bright light with magic, blinding and stunning it. Sophia easily kills the mole after that, and Takumi explains that since moles live in darkness all the time, they are not used to bright lights. The girls are disappointed that the fight ended so quickly, especially Maria, who wanted to show off her skills. Anyway, they are able to mine a lot of ores without any disturbance, and they soon return to their home city. Takumi goes to Dagambo's workshop to learn the basics of handling mithril and adamantite. He spends the next few days like he is preparing for the final round of Forged in Fire, and at the end, he manages to combine various materials with the ores to create mithril alloys with different element attributes. He uses them to modify their armors to make them lighter and more durable, while also enhancing their attack power at the same time. He tells the girls that their armor will boost their magic attacks, while his armor will allow him to run like the Flash. He decides to show them a demo, but he can't control his speed and ends up embarrassing himself by French kissing the wall. He tells the girls to forget what they saw and then moves on to the weapons he has made. He gives a wind spear to Sophia and a fire spear to Maria, and both of them are really glad to receive it. Sophia tells Takumi that her main job is to protect him, and she will sacrifice her life for that. She says that she wants a sturdy shield to do her job properly, and Takumi says he will make her one, but asks her to value her life more. He makes the shield for her, but gets really exhausted by the time he is done. And Sophia thinks that there is too much burden on Takumi because he is the only one who can do skillful work here. She wishes that he gets an assistant who can help him with the technical work so that he can be more relaxed. A couple days later, Papik pays Takumi a visit to tell him that the Holy Empire of Sidonia has taken notice of the magical toilets with purification magic that he created. Recently, they sent a messenger to the king to talk about the matter, and demanded that he hand over the patent to the magical toilet to them because holy magic is a gift from their god, and it should not be used by others. They also demanded him to hand over the person who invented the toilet because it was an insult to use holy magic for cleaning human waste. However, the king told them to make their own purification spells using the gift their god had given them, and refused to agree to their demands even when the messenger threatened to call all the priests from the Church of Holy Light back to Sidonia. Takumi is shocked to hear this and asks Papik if being so stern was the right choice, and the merchant tells him not to worry about anything because they have the freedom of religion in this country. He explains that there are two main religions in this region, and in their country, many people follow the Church of Creation that worships goddess Nolan. The priests from the Church of Creation are enough to heal their population, and they don't even charge as much as the priests from Sidonia. Takumi thinks that this matter sounds a lot more serious and bothersome than he likes, so he plans to stay as far away from it as possible. However, Papik nervously begins to tell him that it won't be possible. With the help of their city lord, he sent the samples of Takumi's magic toilet and refrigerators to the king, and now he wants to meet him. Takumi is taken aback, but Papik pleads with him to come and see the king. In the end, he gives up and accepts the invitation and tells his girls about it later that night. He tells them that they have to leave for the capital in a week, and they have a lot to do before that. For starters, he wants to create new cloaks for the girls using dark element magic stones so that they can hide their presence and move around more freely. After that, Sophia and Maria go to the market for grocery shopping, and Takumi goes to the church to talk to goddess Nolan. She calls him to her realm and asks if he is going to pray to her without any offerings. She has heard that he is going to the royal capital and tells him that she will bless him with a safe journey if he gives her something, but he says that he has some questions first. He asks her about Anat, the goddess that the Church of Divine Light worships, but Nolan doesn't answer the question properly. She claims to be the only goddess and tells him that he will learn about Anat in due time. Takumi then tells her about how the Sidonia Empire has taken an interest in him and asks her what happened to the heroes that they summoned. Normally, summoning heroes from another world would create a lot of chaos, but he hasn't even heard about them. Nolan nervously tells him that she messed with time when she sent him to this world. She sent him 1 year back in time, and that means that the heroes will be summoned to Sidonia in a few months. Takumi is aghast to learn this and asks Nolan why did she do that. Instead of answering his question, she just tells him that visiting time is over and then knocks him out with a slap to his forehead. When Takumi opens his eyes, he is back in the church and he starts to wonder what is Nolan trying to hide from him. Anyway, since he doesn't plan on meeting the heroes, he decides to forget about it. Soon, he finishes making the presents concealing robes for Sophia and Maria, and then tells them that they are going to make a carriage next because he is tired of borrowing one every time they have to travel. The girls are really excited to hear that, especially Maria, who tells Takumi that they should look for a monster horse to carry their carriage in the forest outside the city, and if they are lucky, they can find even stronger beasts. They head to the forest immediately, and Maple is really excited to get another monster to join their group. Suddenly, a wolf monster comes out of the bushes and rushes towards them, but instead of attacking them, it just runs past them. Takumi realizes that his presence concealing robes are working well, but Sophia doesn't like them because she wants to fight some monsters to train. She soon kills a wild boar monster, and Sophia decides to gather its meat for their journey. At the same time, Takumi and Sophia find a dead tree nearby, and they decide to gather its wood to make the carriage. While the three of them are farming resources, Maple gets bored and irritated by them, so she goes ahead alone. She finds a lot of dead trees on the way and decides to find out who killed them. As she hops through the forest, she finds an injured dragon horse and immediately approaches it. The dragon horse attacks her with a lightning bolt, and seeing it so scared and hurt reminds Maple of the time she met Takumi. She tells the horse that she has an amazing master who can heal him, but just as she is about to leave to call him, two ant monsters come there. She realizes that they were the ones who injured the dragon horse, so she ties them with her web and tosses them to the horse, who Pikachus the crap out of them. Suddenly, the entire colony of monster ants arrives there, and Maple creates a barrier with her silk threads to keep the horse and herself safe. The monster ants begin tearing the barrier, and Maple tries to contact Takumi using telepathy. However, he doesn't answer, and she fears that he got so lost in harvesting the treat wood that he forgot about her. She loses hope, thinking that no one is coming to save her because they forgot her and went home. And then the dragon horse also collapses. Within minutes, the monster ants tear the barrier completely, and Maple clings to the dragon horse as she thinks that she is going to die. However, she soon feels Takumi's hand on her head, and as she sees him, she immediately hugs him while crying. Sophia and Maria have cleaned up the monster ants outside. Maple cries as she asks Takumi why didn't he answer when she called for him, and he tells her that her thick silk barrier was in the way of the telepathic connection, but he came rushing to find her as soon as he felt their connection weaken. Maple gets emotional and then tells Takumi to save the dragon horse. He tries to use healing magic on it, but the dragon horse resists even though it is unconscious. On top of that, Sophia senses that more monsters are coming towards them, and she tells Takumi that they have to leave now. Maple begs him not to leave the dragon horse behind, and he decides to put it in his pocket dimension along with Maple. Sophia tells him that it is very risky because if he puts a monster he hasn't formed a contract with in his pocket dimension, it will put a great strain on his body, but Takumi tells her that he is alright. He starts trembling mid-sentence and says that he will be fine if he drinks some mana potions, but before he can even do that, he loses consciousness. The girls carry him back home, but even after half a day passes, he still doesn't wake up. Sophia says that despite being unconscious, Takumi is keeping the dragon horse in his pocket dimension, and that will only increase the stress on his body. She says that the only way to make things better is if Maple opens the pocket dimension from her side. To contact her, Sophia kisses Takumi's hand and follows his mana flow to reach Maple. She asks about the dragon horse and learns that she is still scared. Maple fears that she will react violently if they suddenly bring her out in some unfamiliar place, so Sophia suggests her to create a barrier like she created in the forest, because that will block the dragon horse's vision and keep her in control. Maple likes the idea and says that she will bring the horse out in the garden. After that, Maria decides to take care of other things around the house, while Sophia stays with Takumi. He wakes up the next morning and finds that Sophia has fallen asleep holding his hand. She gets emotional to see him awake, and Maria just watches them from outside the room and starts shipping them. After that, Takumi goes to the barrier where Maple has been looking after the dragon horse. She tells the horse that her master can treat her, but she has to cooperate. Takumi successfully tames the dragon horse quickly and then uses a powerful healing spell to completely heal all its injuries, and the residual energy burns away the silk barrier. Everyone is happy to see this, and then Maple asks Takumi to name the horse. He names her Camellia, and Maple hugs her new friend, welcoming her to the family. A couple days later, Takumi decides to visit his blacksmith friend because he wants to make some horseshoes for Camellia, and there is some work that needs to be done in the carriage too. Sophia is worried that Takumi is working too hard lately because he has recently got an order for refrigerators and potions from the merchant Papek. She tells him to get some rest because he has not fully recovered from the incident with Camellia yet, but Takumi assures her that he will be fine. He decides to pay the Adventurers Guild a visit too and finds one boy causing a commotion about a monster. Takumi asks the receptionist for the tea, and he gives him a rough sketch of a monster many people claim to have seen around the city. He doesn't believe that their reports are accurate, and since there has been no damage done till now, the guild hasn't done anything either. He then asks Takumi for his business and learns that he is here to register another pet. The receptionist promises that he won't be surprised by whatever monster Takumi brings out. Takumi opens the pocket dimension and Camellia pokes her head out of it with Maple on her back, and the terrified receptionist immediately matches their silhouette with the sketch of the monster. Everyone in the guild starts panicking as they recognize the combo of Camellia and Maple as the monster they saw, and before Takumi can even comprehend it, the guild master sternly tells him to come to his office. On the other hand, Sophia visits the slave merchant she once belonged to and asks if she has any slave that can help Takumi with his technical work. The goth mommy tells her that she doesn't have anyone suitable for that right now, but says that she will try contacting her friends in the business to see if they can help. The goth mommy remarks that Sophia has changed a lot ever since she entered a contract with Takumi. Sophia doesn't understand what she means, so she just thanks her and leaves on her way, where she runs into Maria, who is in the middle of her grocery shopping. They decide to pick Takumi from the blacksmith shop, but they are aghast when they see him sleeping on a pile of wood and humping a log in his sleep. The blacksmith tells the girls that Takumi was too exhausted, but still kept working hard, so it was natural that he would collapse midway. He says that there is no danger to him right now, but if he continues his toxic work schedule, he might fall asleep forever. Anyway, the next day, Takumi completes his luxurious carriage, and the girls are left dumbfounded when they find that the carriage is bigger on the inside. Takumi tells them that he saw a lot of Doctor Who in his childhood, so he used spatial magic to expand the interior of the carriage. It is a full-fledged house with anti-shaking features so that it will not even rattle during the journey. Sophia says that this must be the most luxurious carriage on the entire continent, but the proper woman Maria is happy that she can do household chores during their journey too. Soon after that, they depart for the capital, and Camellia runs swiftly while pulling the carriage. Maria and Maple have the time of their life while driving the carriage, and inside, Takumi and Sophia don't even feel any turbulence. Because of all the running, Camellia quickly levels up as well, and soon, Takumi and his party unite with Papek and Lord Godwin. Papek is interested in seeing Takumi's carriage, and the moment he steps inside, he immediately busts a quick one on seeing the luxurious features inside the carriage. He begins pressing Takumi for details and promises to give him a fair price for learning the secrets behind it. But Godwin hits him with a karate chop and tells him to keep it in his pants. Papek calms down a bit after that, and then Godwin begins praising Takumi's carriage. He says that it is really the most amazing thing he has seen recently, and if he has a carriage like this, his reputation as well as that of his territory will greatly increase. Takumi realizes that even Godwin wants him to make a carriage, but he is not ready to learn the amount the noble is going to pay for it. Godwin says that he will gladly pay 100 platinum coins for a carriage like this, and Takumi shits his pants because that is enough to make him a billionaire in Japan. Anyway, they leave on the journey quickly, and after a few days, they reach the royal capital. Once they reach their lodging, Papek tells Takumi that he should present a carriage like the one he owns to the king to make him recognize his talent. He says that both he and Godwin believe that if the king sees the exceptional carriage, he will value Takumi highly and reward him greatly. Since their meeting with the king is after 5 days, Papek believes it will be hard to create a carriage by then. He suggests Takumi to start working on it as soon as he gets back home, but Takumi says that he can do it in 5 days because that will be more convenient for everyone. However, he needs the materials and a place to work, and Papek is more than happy to arrange it for him. Later that day, Takumi tells the girls about Papek's idea and informs them that he has arranged a space for him to work in a big slave company owned by a man named Burton. Sophia has heard that name from the goth mommy, and she tells Takumi that Burton's company is quite reliable and famous. Takumi doesn't really care about that and starts searching the blueprints of the carriage. But then Sophia tells him that he needs an assistant who can help him with production because he is working too hard. Takumi insists that he is fine, but Sophia tells him to take better care of himself because nothing is more valuable than his health. She says that he should consult Burton's company for a slave who can help him in his work, and Takumi decides to do that. The next day, he meets with the slave trader Burton and says that he wants someone who can help him with his alchemy-related work, and the man has someone who fits the criteria exactly. Meanwhile, Sophia and Maria are waiting outside the building when they realize that Maple is missing. Sophia decides to find her and bring her back before she causes a scene. But she is a bit late because a fox girl has already pissed herself on seeing Maple. Sophia scolds Maple for running off on her own, and then helps the fox girl up, who starts feeling a bit gay on seeing her. Sophia picks her book next, and the fox girl starts geeking out as she talks about her interest in alchemy. Anyway, Sophia leaves her behind as she carries Maple outside, but they run into Takumi on the way. He tells Sophia that he was just looking for her to accompany him when he meets a slave candidate, and she gladly agrees. Turns out, the fox girl named Riva is the one Burton referred to Takumi. As Takumi tells Riva about his line of work, she starts getting nervous because till now, everyone has refused her. No one saw any value in her because she has too much to learn, and because she could not find any work. She was unable to send any money back home to her sick mother. Takumi asks her if she has any knowledge or interest in alchemy, and thinking about how everyone has always told her that it is a waste of time, Riva goes silent. However, Sophia decides to help her out and tells Takumi that Riva is studying alchemy and magic on her own. He is curious to learn about her progress now, and it turns out both of them are same level of alchemy nerds. They hit it off immediately and talk about complex things that no one else understands, and then Takumi gives Riva an alchemy circle to test her knowledge. Riva immediately starts analyzing the circle and realizes that it is the recipe of making sweets, but she can't find what exactly it means. She tries searching the book for answers, but there is nothing in there. She gets desperate because she fears being rejected again, but in the end, she can't find anything and starts crying. She tells Takumi that the alchemy circle talks about an ingredient that they don't use in her hometown, and then breaks down, thinking that she screwed up another chance of getting a job. However, Takumi just gets up and stretches his hand towards her, inviting her to join his party. Riva is shocked to hear this because she didn't solve his question, but Takumi assures her that she showed enough understanding of alchemy to pass his test. With that, the slave trader uses the contract spell to pass Riva's ownership to Takumi, who tells her that she will get daily wages and raises based on her abilities. Riva requests him to send all her wages to her village because it is a very poor place, and Takumi is surprised to hear that. Riva explains that she sold herself into slavery to earn some money for her family, but that is not going to last long, and she wants to keep helping her mother and her younger brother. Takumi is a bit confused by this because if Riva can't earn money, she can never buy her freedom as a debt slave, but Sophia tells him to accept her conditions. She believes that by working under Takumi, Riva will grow more skilled and eventually her pay grade will rise a lot. And even if she can never free herself from slavery, she will be happy serving a master like Takumi. With that, Takumi takes Riva to meet the rest of his crew, and Maria and Maple get so excited that they scare Riva. He tells them to calm down and behave nicely, but they tell him that they just wanted to give the newbie a warm welcome. Riva is moved by their honesty and excitement, and she thinks that working with them will be fun. Later, Takumi takes Riva to the backyard of their inn, where he creates an adamantite carriage frame using alchemy. Riva's eyes sparkle with excitement as she sees a master at work, and Takumi tells her that it is not as complex as she thinks. While she cleans and polishes the frame, she gets a bit doubtful that she might not be able to do it. But Takumi tells her that the spell formula for this carriage is really similar to the formula of the candy he showed her earlier. On top of that, he believes that the excitement and passion she has for alchemy is her best quality, which is why he is certain that she will learn everything quickly. A few days later, Takumi has finished the carriage with Riva's help, and as he is watching over it before presenting it to the king, an old man comes there and asks if it is his carriage. Takumi tells the old fart that it is the carriage he is going to gift the king and adds that he made it himself. The old man is impressed and tells Takumi that he is even more brilliant than he had heard, and Takumi is shocked that he is so famous. He asks the old man who is he, and the very next moment, Papek and Godwin come running there because the old man is the king of the country himself. Takumi freaks out on learning that he was talking casually to the king just now, but King Lobos tells him that there is no need to be formal because he is chill like that. Papek and Godwin also kneel in front of the king, but he tells them that this is an unofficial meeting so they can be at ease. He says that he finds official meetings a pain in the ass, so he came here to meet the genius alchemist personally. He thanks Takumi for his smart toilets that solved the capital city's hygiene problems, and says that he wanted to throw a big party to honor him, but that would bring unwanted attention from their neighbors. Takumi understands that, and he thanks King Lobos for protecting him from the Sidonia Empire all this time. After that, Takumi presents the carriage to the king, receives his reward, and then heads back home. Meanwhile, the king tells his assistants to make sure that no one knows that he met Takumi today. His assistant says that he will take care of it, but once they start exporting the unique magic devices that Takumi is making, he will become more famous than he wants to be. A few days after that, Takumi returns to his house, and he officially purchases it from Papik instead of just renting it. With that out of the way, he decides to discuss the wages of his slaves, but Maria and Sophia don't want any money because all their needs are being met and Takumi gives them a little pocket money from time to time. He doesn't like this because it makes him seem like a greedy capitalist who underpays his employees, and he tells them to think about their future, especially of the time they end their contract with him. Sophia declares that as an elf, she is going to outlive Takumi, and she plans to spend her remaining life guarding his grave. Maria says that she just wants to live a day more than Takumi so that she can have her grave next to him, and he is left speechless in front of these simps. The next day, Riva tells Takumi that she also wants to register as an adventurer so she can level up and be more useful to him, and he thinks that is a solid idea. He immediately gets her registered, and the receptionist even arranges to send money to Riva's home from her monthly wage. He then asks Takumi to pick a name for his adventuring party already, because they are one of the strongest people in their guild. Takumi says that he doesn't really want to be an adventurer, nor is he any good for it. Unfortunately, the guild master hears him and he decides to train Takumi without even asking for his consent. The training just involves the baldy pounding Takumi left and right without any lube, and Riva just watches in horror as she sees her boss being thrashed. The guild master keeps asking Takumi to think of a party name during his so-called training session, and each time he comes up with a cringe name like Diddy Party, he gets yeeted high into the air. When Takumi returns home later, he is completely bruised and battered, and he asks the girls to suggest a party name so that he can be safe from Baldy's torture the next day. Maria and Riva give him ideas that Takumi fears will earn him even more whooping, and on the other hand, Sophia is furious at the guildmaster for leaving Takumi ragged. She decides to teach the old Baldy some lessons, but Takumi asks her to stop because it was just training, and he leveled up some useful skills because of that. Sophia somehow calms down on hearing that, but Takumi realizes that his troubles are not yet over. The next day, he gives Riva a magic ring to activate spells quickly and a magic staff to boost her power. He also gives Maple Wolverine claws so that she can also have a weapon. After that, the guild master visits him to continue his training, and each time Takumi tells him a lame party name, he slams him to the ground. Takumi fears that at this rate Sophia will snap and end the old dude's career, but to his shock, she has turned against him as well. She tells him to stop being a bitch and try harder to defend himself from the guild master's attacks. After that, they go to the guild, where the receptionist hands them an escort mission, and Takumi is not really confident if he can do it. However, his girls are eager to take the mission as it will get them promoted, and Takumi decides to accept it. Soon after that, they leave on the escort mission, acting as the bodyguards of a senior executive at Papik's company. He tells Takumi that they are going to sell the purification devices at a faraway town, which is famous for its dairy products. Takumi is surprised to hear that they have dairy products in this world, when suddenly, his girls warn him that they have spotted monsters ahead. There is a turf war going on between unicorn wolves and goblins in front of them, and Maple decides to stop the war by telling Camellia to Pikachu everyone, killing them instantly. A couple days later, they reach their destination, and while the merchant does his business, Takumi takes his party to try some dairy-based dishes. He orders cream stew at a restaurant, and though it is not as good as the stews he had back on Earth, it is similar enough to give him nostalgia. At night, they try grilled cheese sandwiches, and the feeling of nostalgia begins to dig deeper into Takumi's heart. Now he craves to eat some rice as well, and Sophia tells him that they have a crop like that, but it is not produced in their country. Takumi is delighted to hear that they at least have rice, but when Maria tells him that they were selling it in the capital, he is devastated because he lost out on a golden opportunity. Sophia asks him why does he want to eat rice so desperately, and Takumi can't tell her that he is Asian because she won't understand. He just tells her that he has heard rumors about it and wants to try it out. He then turns the question towards her, remarking that she has been away from her home for many years now. He asks if she ever feels nostalgic about her hometown or the food she ate there, and instead of giving him a straight answer, this starts licking his boots. She says that for years, she was trapped in a cage because of the curse, till Takumi freed her and gave her a chance to live freely. She says that she enjoys every moment of the present and looks forward to the new adventures they will have. She thanks Takumi for giving her wings, and he suddenly gets an idea about their party name. He thinks that he got wings when he came to this world as well, and the one who gave them to him was Goddess Nolan. He asks the girls how does the name Wings of Nolan sound for their party, and everyone thinks it is really cool and stylish. 2 days later, they finish their mission and return home late at night, but as soon as they enter the house, Takumi begins to feel weak. He immediately realizes that there is a poisonous gas inside the house, but it is already too late because the assassins who have attacked him have taken his girls hostage. Everyone is weakened by the poison so they can't fight back, and one of the assassins gets close to Takumi to kill him. However, Maple was hiding in the pocket dimension, and she manages to disarm the assassin, giving Takumi the chance to knock him down. The other assassin abandons the hostages and runs to attack Takumi, only to get knocked out too. After that, Takumi cures the girls and dispels the poison, and they are glad that no one is harmed. Maple tells them that there were more assassins around their house, but she spotted them while taking Camellia to the stable earlier and already put them in cocoons before coming to help Takumi. Everyone realizes that this is a serious issue, and Takumi immediately calls for the guild master and the knights, who arrest the assassins and take them away. The guild master tells Takumi to immediately tell Lord Godwin about this matter, because these assassins were most probably sent by Sidonia Empire, and ignoring them would be the worst mistake he can make. The next day, Takumi goes to meet Godwin, who informs him that the assassins who attacked him last night were from the Divine Light Squadron, which is a group of people who are considered nutjobs even in the Holy Sidonia Empire. They eliminate anyone they think is defying the teachings of the Church of Divine Light, and many times, they take action without anyone giving them orders. Takumi is really shocked and scared on learning that those people were indeed assassins, and not thieves like he had been hoping for. Godwin is sure that the reason for that is the magic toilets that Takumi has created. Before the toilets, priests were required to purify them using holy magic from time to time, and that is how the priests from Sidonia earned a huge amount of money. Now that Takumi has taken away their main source of income, they are after his head. Takumi wonders if he should go off the grid for some time, but Godwin and his subordinates tell him that he will be safer if he stays in their sight because they can actively support him. The guildmaster says that they need to do something about Takumi's security during adventuring, and he nervously replies that he will take a break instead. However, the guildmaster refuses to let him rest because his party is among the top 5 in their city, and he can't let them stop working. With Sophia assuring Takumi that she will keep him safe at all cost, the guildmaster manages to convince him to keep working as an adventurer. After that, Takumi heads to the Adventurers Guild to register his party name Wings of Nolan, and the receptionist tells him that it is quite flashy. He also warns Takumi to be careful because rumors about someone sending assassins after him have already spread, and most people think that he has a high bounty on his head. At night, Takumi tells his girls about the receptionist's warning, and he fears that some bounty hunters might attack him soon. He feels bad about putting the girls in danger, but they tell him that they will protect him with everything they have got. Takumi feels better after hearing this, but he doesn't want the girls and the knights to devote all their time into guarding him. To solve his problems, he comes up with an idea to cast a magic barrier around the house that keeps out anyone who is not registered with the barrier. He decides to make a magic device to cast that barrier and tells Riva that he would need her help for that. Next, he begins to think about the times they will be out in the field doing adventure stuff. Sophia suggests that he should get a tank to join their party, and all the girls sternly tell Takumi that they won't let a guy join his party because they will be prouder the bigger his harem gets. Takumi agrees to their suggestions, but he has no idea where he can get a female tank or attacker to join his party, and Sophia suggests that he contact the goth slave trader Mommy because that would be a good place to start. After that, the girls go to sleep while Takumi creates the magic circles for his safety device. The next morning, as he is about to start working with Riva's help, Sophia approaches him because she wants to help too. Takumi puts her and Riva to engrave the alchemy circle on metal plates, and later, he begins sprinkling pixie dust over them. Just then, they see Maple riding Camellia and charging at huge dolls made of silk, pretending they are enemy golems. Riva says that golems also fall under alchemy, and Takumi says that he already knows it, but their core is really complex, so he has not tried making one yet. Riva says that a golem could be the perfect tank for their party, and while Takumi agrees with her, he accepts that he can't make one because of skill issues. He resumes working on the barrier device, and as soon as he links them, his mana manipulation skill maxes out and evolves into spell control skill. Takumi realizes that if he can level up the spell control skill, he will be able to make golems. On the other hand, the Emperor of Sidonia learns that the Divine Light Squadron was captured, and they couldn't even off themselves before being caught. He realizes things have gotten trickier now, and his daughter Elizabeth tells him that they should stop trying to get rid of one guy when they have bigger plans at hand. The court mage tells them that they have assembled the ancient magic circle to summon heroes, but they need a couple months at least to gather the magic power needed to summon them. Meanwhile, Takumi tries to create a golem's core using alchemy, but he is still not good enough. Maple asks him if he can't just tame a golem, and he finds her idea quite interesting. He immediately goes to Sophia to ask her where they can find golems, and she tells him about stray stone golems being found in ancient ruins and iron golems being found in dungeons. Takumi is surprised to learn that there are dungeons here, and he tells Sophia that they should try to get their hands on an iron golem if they are going to get one. Sophia believes that it will be reckless to charge into a dungeon without a tank or an attacker, but Takumi takes his chances and leads his party to the dungeon. Even before they can reach the dungeon, they find a giant stray stone golem, and Sophia tells Takumi that they need to destroy the golem's control core if they want to defeat it. Takumi doesn't want to destroy the core because that is what he needs the most. Suddenly, the golem notices them and turns around, and both Takumi and Sophia duck as they see its eyes glowing. Sophia suggests that they should not take the risk of fighting this golem because it can be dangerous, but Takumi says that if they take the golem, it will be a strong tank for their party. He immediately jumps down to confront the golem, and his girls have no choice but to follow him. The golem starts walking towards him as the girls surround it, but then Takumi feels some sort of connection with it. He tells his girls to hold fire as he approaches the golem, and after staring at it closely for a while, he realizes that it was programmed to protect ruins related to goddess Nolan, and now it is reacting to her blessings on him. Takumi tries using his taming abilities on the golem, and surprisingly, he manages to do it without any problem. Everyone is surprised by that, but Maple is excited because she is getting another junior. She asks Takumi to give it a name, and he decides to name the 23,000-year-old golem Titan. The golem tries to communicate with them, but no one can understand its language. Takumi thinks he can give it a voice box, but taking it back to the city like this would create panic among the people. Takumi says that he can carry the golem in his pocket dimension, but there is no need for it as the golem suddenly sheds down all its weight and turns into a miniature version of itself. Once they get home, Takumi begins designing a new body for Titan, but before manufacturing it, he decides to hold an important meeting with his slaves. He tells them that people are after his life, but he doesn't want to put them in danger because of it. That is why he wants to dissolve their contracts and let them go home. The girls are aghast on hearing this and tell Takumi that they are not going anywhere while leaving him in danger, but he tells them that he has Titan and his two pets. He says that he will pay them well so they don't need to be someone else's slaves after him, but the girls are not ready to accept that. Suddenly, Maria points her spear at him, telling him that if he wants to dissolve their contract, he will have to go through her. She begins lashing out at him for even thinking about sending them away in this situation, and then both of them have an emotional breakdown. Sophia comforts the crying Maria as she tells Takumi that she understands that he is worried about them, but he insulted them in the most cruel way by telling them to leave him alone in his tough times. Takumi starts remembering how all the girls pledged his loyalty to him, and he apologizes to them for pushing his feelings on them and disregarding theirs. He then asks them if they will stay by his side and fight his enemies together, and the girls are more than happy to agree. A few days after that, Takumi finishes making a new body for Titan using adamantite and mithril. He has loaded it with weapons and defensive abilities, and it can even speak now. Not only that, Takumi lived out his childhood dream of being a Power Ranger by creating a huge version of Titan that it can go inside and control just like its own body. While Takumi cries at the success of his hard work, Nolan, who is always watching him like he is her personal Netflix, thinks that he went a bit too hard on that golem. Suddenly, her assistant approaches her with terrible news about goddess Anat, whom the Sidonia Empire worships. There was never a goddess named Anat, but because of the strong devotion of the Church of Divine Light, she is slowly coming into existence and becoming an evil spirit. Nolan always suspected something like this would happen, and she knows that it is going to cause a serious war on Earth, which will definitely be started by Sidonia and its heroes. However, she cannot interfere with the world directly, and that is why she gave Takumi a new body and strong blessings so that he could save the world. A few days later, Takumi and his party try their hand at exploring in a rank dungeon. Though the monsters in the dungeon are stronger, thanks to the Golem Titan, they tank the hits from the floor bosses and defeat them quickly as well, progressing rapidly through the dungeon. It takes them just one day to reach the last floor of the dungeon. They resume their journey after that and soon reach the boss room, where an S-rank Earth Dragon comes out to face them. Takumi starts realizing that he is not prepared enough to face an S-rank monster, and he should have brought the Mega Titan with him. Suddenly, the Earth Dragon attacks them with its tail, scattering them. Takumi commands Maple and Titan to stop the dragon from using its tail, so they hold it down and then stick it to the ground with spider webs. Sophia pierces the dragon's tail to ensure that it doesn't move it, and using this chance, Takumi, Maria, and Riva attack the dragon with their magic. Takumi then orders Titan to use its laser beams to attack the dragon, dealing a huge amount of damage to it. Sophia tells Takumi that the dragon's ribs are exposed right now, and they are the weak points of any monster. He immediately summons Camellia to tackle the dragon, knocking it off balance. He enchants his sword with lightning magic and throws it inside the dragon's mouth, electrocuting it from inside and killing it. Everyone returns to their home after the successful dungeon run, and Takumi immediately gets summoned by the city lord Godwin. He begins talking about a part of his territory that is not developed into a human settlement yet because of the monsters found there. Takumi has heard about that piece of land, and he knows that it has a mine where they can mine rare materials like mithril and adamantite. Godwin suddenly gets excited on realizing that Takumi is interested in that area, and he asks him to build a village there. Takumi is taken aback at this sudden request, and Godwin explains that he has heard about his development work at another village, so he has high hopes from him. His assistant begins informing Takumi about a spot that is near the river and considerably far away from the monster habitat, which is where they plan to build the village, and Takumi seems to be getting carried away by the flow of the conversation. Sophia suddenly asks them to stop, reminding them that Takumi already has a hit order out on him, and building a village will draw all sort of attention towards him. Takumi asks to calm down and listen to the details first. He then asks Godwin the reason he wants to develop a village in that region so quickly, and he begins telling him a long-winded story. About a year ago, the kingdom was developing another village in another region, but because of some corrupt nobles, the work was stopped permanently. The villagers lost their homes and became refugees, and now Godwin is under pressure to create a permanent settlement for them soon. He says that it is one of his reasons, and Takumi stops Sophia from inquiring about other reasons as he accepts the job. Sophia is worried that it is not a smart decision, but Takumi tells her that he can't ignore people who have lost their homes. He begins talking about how he had lost his home some time ago, but because he met some kind people, he was able to find his way. Now, he just wants to repay the favor. Soon, Takumi and his gang reach the location and start developing a village, starting by constructing a tall wall at the border using magic. They also dig a pit around the wall and then strengthen the walls with alchemy. They distribute the tasks of building roads, filling the canals with water and logging trees among them, quickly laying the groundwork. After that, they build some houses and farms, and once Takumi is satisfied with it, he sends Sophia to the city to inform Godwin that they are ready to welcome the refugees. Godwin is completely shocked to learn that Takumi has created a village in just 10 days, and he sends the refugees to settle there immediately. The refugees have only heard that the village is in a region full of monsters, and they fear that the government is sending them there just to get rid of them. They already have terrible experiences with corrupt nobles, and they think that the one in charge of this program is another piece of trash. However, when they arrive at the village, which is almost as big as a town and even has a castle in the middle, they are blown away. The knight captain leading the group asks Takumi what the hell did he do to this place, and he explains that he built houses for everyone, built the castle for government offices, and even prepared farmlands for agriculture. The knight can't believe that he did all this in 10 days, and Takumi just laughs it off like it is no big deal. In the meantime, the people start picking their new houses, and a bunny girl named Manny just watches them from a distance. Sophia approaches her to make small talk, and learns that the woman's husband died in the last village, so she is all alone now. Sophia realizes that looking after a farm alone will be tough for her, so she offers her another job to take care of Takumi. She soon arranges an interview with Takumi and Maria, who tell Manny that her job would be to look after the house while they all are busy working. While the conditions and pay are really good, Manny doesn't trust nobles since her husband died because of one. She refuses to work with Takumi, saying that she doesn't trust him, and though Maria tries to explain that she is wrong about him, Takumi respects her decision. He tells her to find him if she ever changes her mind, but Manny leaves his house, certain that he is just a lustful animal who has his eyes set on her. She is certain that after refusing his offer, her life in this village will be hell. So she decides to leave the village altogether, but 5 minutes after leaving the village, this runs into dangerous monsters. On the other hand, Takumi is still coping with the first rejection he has faced ever since he came to this world, when Maple alerts him about a monster attack. The villagers panic, thinking that they will be sent to fight the monsters like always, but Takumi asks the night captain to lock the village down and guards the villagers while his group deals with the monsters outside. Some villagers come running to the gate and tell Takumi that they saw Manny going outside, and he promises them that he will definitely bring her back unharmed. They ride Mega Titan to overcome the village wall, while Manny runs back to the village only to find that the gates have been closed. 2 wolf monsters approach her, and she fears that she is going to die. Luckily, Takumi arrives there just in time to save her, and soon after that, the rest of his party returns after dealing with the remaining monsters. Manny just stares at Takumi in awe when she notices a cut on his arm and immediately ties it with her hanky. She asks why did he risk an injury to save her, and Takumi replies that he won't let anyone harm the people of his village. Manny realizes that she has been wrong about him, and she asks him to appoint her as his maid. Takumi accepts her without any question, and everyone gladly welcomes her to the gang. The news about the town with a fortress suddenly appearing in the middle of a forest soon reaches other nations, and when the Emperor of Sidonia learns about it, he gets furious, thinking that the Bolton Kingdom created that town to challenge them. He begins thinking about launching a war when his daughter Elizabeth tells him that he doesn't need to worry about anything, because they are ready to summon the heroes that will help them dominate the continent. Soon after that, the Sidonia Empire summons the 3 heroes using the forbidden spell, and a massive energy wave travels throughout the continent because of it. Takumi and his party feel the strange and creepy mana very strongly, and he suddenly realizes that it has been 1 full year since he was summoned to this world. He remembers Nolan telling him that she sent him 1 year in the past, and that means that the heroes have been finally summoned to this world. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and watch the video on your screen next.